1, 2. Welcome, everyone. It's 7:33 on Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. It's the Warren Township High School Board of Education meeting. As we start every meeting, if we could stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes to tonight's agenda? If not, I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz and second by Anderson. Mr. DeMonte?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Thanks, everyone. First up on the agenda is my favorite part of every meeting. We have some recognitions.
All right, I'm going to turn the time over to our principals for this.
Good evening. Thank you for an opportunity to recognize some wonderful students that were recognized in our National Merit Scholarship Program. Mrs. Bertola and I are here, and we'll try to coordinate this in recognizing our students. So this is the awkward moment where I call up our National Merit students that are here. If you guys want to come up here and stand, and we're going to say some wonderful things about you.
Come on up. Yay!
Woo-hoo! Families, if you want to get a picture, you're welcome to move around and do so. I'm going to say some nice things here. So the National Merit Scholarship Program is an academic competition which began in 1955 for recognition and scholarships. And each year they recognize about 50,000 students that took the qualifying exam. High school students enter the National Merit Program by taking the preliminary SAT, National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. These scholarships are considered to be an important and prestigious award. Even students who qualify and don't win can earn honor and recognition and are able to use that to their benefit when it comes to applying to college. National Merit Scholars are heavily recruited by universities and have been given some preferential treatment in admissions, housing, course selection. Many selective universities try to increase their number of National Merit Scholars each year, and they may also receive attractive merit scholarships. We would like to recognize students in 4 distinct categories tonight, and I know they all couldn't be here tonight. It's a busy time of year for seniors, athletics. I know Archie just ran in here from tennis, trying to make it, so I know our students are very busy with jobs and athletic programs that are in, and senioritis that sometimes kicks in at this time of year to come out to a meeting. But we have 31 students that we're recognizing, and we'll recognize those that are here tonight. So the 4 areas are the National Recognition Program Scholars, National Merit Commended Students, National Merit Semifinalists, and National Merit Finalists. So first, the National Recognition Program Scholars provides recognition for outstanding high school students who identify in one or more of the following areas: Black, African American, Hispanic American, Indigenous, first generation, or attend in a rural or are from a small town. Those are their qualifications. I didn't make those small town ones up. Each year, the National Recognition Program Scholars identify students from the United States and U.S. territories who take the PSAT and MSQT and score in the top 2.5% of test takers who identify in the stated categories. And tonight we recognize 23 students that qualified this year from Warren High School. So congratulations. So just going through all the 23 students: Audrina Biba is here tonight. Yep, there's Audrina. Ethan Crump. And then Olu Fajinimi, David Furman, Fox Flores, Sherman Flores, Dominic Gray, Soli Heller, Jacqueline Hernandez, Jasmine Lockett, Amara Mahdi. That didn't show, okay. I thought she was coming. Maya Martin, Gloria McAtee, Sophia Odrin, Addie Owen, Romina Palamike Manners, Jacqueline Perez, Prisha Shaw, thank you. Matthew Shee, Favor Ubaka. Favor, yeah. Seshu Varagis, Nathaniel Welch, and Siani Williams. Congratulations to those 23 students. Students who scored in the approximate top 3% of all test takers in the nation are recognized as commended students in the National Merit Program out of approximately 1.5 million test takers. These students do not continue in the scholarship competition, but they are recognized as a part of the top 34,000 students that took the exam because of their outstanding academic promise. And Warren recognizes 6 outstanding students this year. They are Fox Flores, who was also recognized in the previous category, Hannah Kagan, Patrick Kam, Sarah O, Archich Prakash, and Riley Rand. Congratulations to those 6 students. And then approximately 1.5 million students took the PSAT and MSQT qualifying exam, and the National Merit semifinalists make up about 16,000 students that achieved this recognition by scoring in the top 1% of the nation, and we're proud to recognize 3 students who have achieved this honor, and they are Brett Fuller, James Welch, and Akil Urapali. Then finally, our semifinalists move on in the competition as National Merit finalists and make up about 15,000 students that achieve this recognition by scoring in the top 1% of the nation. About 7,500 of those students will receive some type of National Merit Scholarship. Warren is proud to recognize 2 of our semifinalists who have moved on this year to become finalists, and they are James Welch and Akil Urapali. Congratulations to both of them. So one more round of applause for all of our National Merit Award winners. So I didn't prep them for this, but it's always an exciting time of the year. I think we like to hear kind of the places we're going to go after high school. So maybe I'll start on the end. This will be a non-binding commitment because I know decision day is not here. But Archie, would you just say like where you're thinking about going next year, what your future plans are, and if you got a major, I don't know if you've got a university yet, all that kind of stuff.
I committed to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign for computer engineering. Nice job.
I've committed to UW-Madison. I've also committed to UIUC for biology. I committed to West Central College for secondary education.
I've committed to Carthage College for psychology.
I also committed to UIUC for bioengineering.
Wow.
Tomorrow made it.
Yeah, I committed to Loyola University Chicago for biology.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, in addition, some other students that we want to just recognize are national letter of intent signers. So these are our student athletes that have committed to be involved with athletics at the collegiate level. I'm just going to pounce through these. We don't have these students here today, but we've got Abby going to University of Nevada, Lucas going to University of Wisconsin Stout, Connor at Carthage College, Josie at Cornell College, Elena at St. Olaf College, Jaden at Benedictine, David at Lake Forest, Ryan at North Central, Kaylee at Deauville University, Austin at Wartburg, Heaven at Roosevelt, Siani at Mount Mary, Evan at Carthage, John at University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, Alyssa at Milwaukee School of Engineering, and just as a reminder, I know our athletic director always likes to include the probability of students that compete at the high school level, the probability of them being involved at the collegiate level, it's pretty low. It ranges somewhere for the sports that we have between 12 and let's see, 3%, I think it is. So we're really proud of them. They're in a real specific, unique group, and are proud of the efforts that they're putting into the sports here and what they'll be doing after college or after high school. All right, then we're going to recognize, this isn't on the agenda per se, but we're going to do a little recognition of Paul. This is Paul's last meeting, so I got a couple memory lane things here. So he's been on the board since 2017. Here's him taking his original oath.
Not sure how to take that.
What happened?
What happened? Board happened.
It's a list of the committees that he's done work for: athletic, audit, board orientation, committee of the whole, insurance, facilities, finance, policy, negotiations, safety, and the strategic plan. So he was a vice president for a number of years. Here's one of the groups that he was a vice president with. And then he's been the president recently for 4 years. Is it 4 years? Does that sound right?
6 or so.
6, okay, maybe a little bit more. So there's one of the groups. Here's the current group. Here's a picture from graduation. Just appreciate him. We're going to do a little bit of a transition later today, but wanted to just recognize Paul for his work.
Yay.
Do you have a university you've committed to?
Retirement?
Not yet.
No. I just want to say really quick, I mean, it's been a great experience. I look from left to right. I think the board is the strongest it's ever been. So this is great. And I've said this many times, so I'm going to say it one more time. Teachers, administrators, past and present, you're awesome.
Thank you for
That's
everything,
it.
Paul.
Well, I got a couple things I'd like to say.
Is this Festivus?
No, absolutely not. I do make fun of things a lot, but I'm not here to do that today, Paul. I thought you've done so much for this school, and most people don't know because it's all behind the scenes. And you've really done a good job of helping me because I tend to, fly off and say things too much, and you've shown me how to maybe be quiet once in a while. It doesn't work all the time, but I appreciate your leadership. It's really, really been good. You've just been very even. You don't, express your opinion all the time. You let other people talk, which I truly appreciate, and I think you've really done a fantastic job for Warren, and I hope that you feel good about it because you should. And Bonnie, thank you for loaning him to us for a few years. Bonnie actually wanted to start her own business while she wanted to get rid of Paul. So that's what really happened. That's the truth. But anyway, once again, Paul, I'm just thank you. You've done a great job.
Thank you, John. Moving forward.
I'm not done.
Ah.
Yeah. So I just also wanted to say, Paul, I met you working through the referendum, and I dare to say that was probably one of the most important things that could have happened to this organization in a very long time. And without your leadership and your tenacity in putting that on the table and pushing it through, that would not have happened. And so on behalf of the community I know that worked so hard to help try to pass that, we appreciate all you did for that effort as well. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your time that you invested in this organization and the community. We all appreciate it, whether we're sitting here or sitting at home. So thanks a lot, Paul.
Very welcome.
Yeah.
Hold on, Paul. I want to follow Beth.
Whatever.
I came in here a while ago and was appointed, and I came in like a blunderbuss, and I had no idea what I was doing, and you were very patient. And you taught me a type of leadership that I'm unfamiliar with, but I appreciate. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
I'm going to echo the rest of my peers.
It's been an honor to be sitting on the table with you for the past 4 years. I have learned a lot from you. I also am grateful that there's been times where, and I'm not shy to ever voice my opinion, but there have been very minimal times where I haven't gone with what my gut feeling is or what I've really wanted to go with. And then after the meetings, you've always encouraged, no, you got to do what you think, what you feel is right. And that's something that I have appreciated, because even though sometimes you want to be, balanced out with the rest of the group, there are times where our voice does need to be heard. So I appreciate you for always encouraging that. And you're going to be missed, and thank you.
Thank you. Move forward now. Thank you. Next up is the section for public comments. If anybody would like to make a comment and address the board, if it has anything to do other than me, you're more than welcome to come up and address the board. The podium is yours.
Bonnie, that means you.
No. No one signed up, so I'm assuming we can just go on to the next section. So the next up is committee reports. I don't know if anybody has any questions on the reports. If not, let's go on to the superintendent's reports.
I've my attached reports and things I wanted to highlight. I did update the memo today. It includes an update on the locker room, which I will try to do on a monthly basis. There's also a copy of another copy of the draft plan for next year. We've talked about this formally a few times. We'll bring it up again in the committee of the whole, but as we progress to the end of the school year, if you have concerns about the plans for next year, please keep me in the loop on that. There is a separate item and attachment for the long-range plan of facility improvements, or for facility improvements. It includes a tracker, and we're going to start trying to give that to you once a quarter about, so you can see what items we've completed either internally or with the help of another agency, so you can see that work progress. I think this is important for you to know not only what we've done, but also what's coming up, because the work coming up often includes plan approvals or bid approvals. And if we come to you with something, it helps you understand kind of in the whole scheme of things where we're at with those projects. And then I would highlight as well on my superintendent report, I'm pretty excited about the foundation, the work the foundation is doing, and I'm excited to be involved with that in the future. They've got some a fun new idea that I think could be really powerful for the community regarding scholarships for students that go to CLC moving forward. That's all for my report, but if you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to entertain those.
Questions from the board?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say that long-range facility plan is fantastic, and I really appreciate the spreadsheet and being able to see what's on everybody's mind that needs to happen. And speaking of the referendum, I mean, I appreciate that the community has supported the schools so that now we can be planning for the future and anticipating what needs to happen. And Chris, you've done a great job of organizing it all so that everybody understands what's going on. So.
I second. When I looked at that spreadsheet, I remember when that conversation started. I think John and I met with Danny when I was first a board member, and I thought, what a daunting task this sounds like. And it's all on a spreadsheet now, and it's amazing. That's a lot of hard work, and I know there were a lot of people that contributed to that and did a lot of facility walks and things like that. So thank you to everybody, and I'm just grateful we now have like some substance to be able to reference and be able to track, and so thanks for everybody that worked on that.
Anything else? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented, which includes personnel recommendations for Exhibit A, numbers 84 through 99 as posted, and Exhibit B, numbers B22 through B28 as posted.
Second.
Additionally,
Sorry.
it's okay.
Sorry.
Additionally, Exhibit A, number 100, Richard Dwyer, leave of absence. 101, Matthew Greenberg, new hire 102. Albert Smith, new hire 103. Megan Spidale, new hire, and Exhibit B. B29, Greg Janzik, resignation. The payment of the bills dated April 22, 2025 in the amount of $5,613,431.35. The executive session minutes and regular meeting minutes of March 18th, 2025. The 25 through 26 school board meeting schedules as presented. Beginning the annual audit and the audit engagement letters with Baker Tilly US LLP for fiscal year 25. And a one-year contract extension for the photography services for student athletic photos with Visual Image Photography, Inc. for the 25-26 school year.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz and second by Pope. Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Demonte?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Thanks, everyone. Next up are our discussion items. The first one is a discussion on the district long-term financial projections.
I'll wait till Chris hands it out.
Chris.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rob Grossi, financial advisor to the school district. I was here probably about a year and a half or so ago, I think.
Remember you, Rob.
Yeah, thanks. Not too many people do. So, anyway, tonight I'm going to present an update. You know, obviously there's a lot of things happening. Well, a lot of things have happened since the last time I was here, and I anticipate a lot more unique things happening in the future. So, you guys touched on the referendum. I'm going to talk about how that's put yourself in a position to withstand what I think are going to be some challenges that all other school districts are going to face. So to start the presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit about your financial history briefly. Sorry. So this is a graph of your revenues and expenditures since 2017, and you could see the interesting pattern between 2017 and 2020. Your revenues were essentially flat. Your revenues were flat. Basically, 2020 equaled 2017. You got to the point where your expenses were exceeding your revenues, despite the fact that you could see you kept expenditure growth pretty low by making some tough decisions. And that kind of necessitated the need to go for referendum. Then, starting in 2021, a phenomena happened that impacted all school districts positively financially, and that's COVID. COVID had a huge impact, positive impact financially for school districts. School districts received a lot of federal money as a result of COVID. The state of Illinois received a big influx of money that allowed them to keep increasing their revenues. Inflation kicked in and interest rates went up, so we started to earn real interest where interest was basically zero. And separate from COVID, the Illinois Department of Revenue made a mistake that overpaid school districts by about 200 and something percent corporate personal property taxes due to a miscalculation. So all these things came in between 2021 and 2024, bleeding into 2025, that really helped almost all school districts in Illinois. So you could see that the jump in 21-22 was primarily due to those factors. And then in 23, that's when your referendum dollars started coming in. And the district since 2021 has generated positive surpluses, which is very important. And this is just a graphical comparison of those revenues and expenditures. And again, you could see that the district was trending towards almost a $10 million deficit 2020. And at the end of 24, excluding major capital projects, the district had about a $20 million surplus. In total, during that time period, I don't have my glasses. Is that 53.7 or 33.7?
33.
33.7 million revenues that have exceeded expenditures. But obviously, that's all happened since 2021. And then the district, the other thing that impacts fund balances is major capital investment. And the district, I guess, relative to the size of your budget and your campus, your capital investment has been pretty low. But that was, a lot of it had to do with the fact that your district was in bad financial shape. The district did invest a little over $8 million in its facilities in 20, and in 2024, almost $4 million worth of capital expenditures. The combination of the capital expenditures and the surpluses, you could see on this graph that your fund balances. So the red line represents 144 days of reserves. Your fund balance policy calls for a minimum of 40%, which is about 144 days. So you could basically, if you get no revenues, you could cover 144 days of expenses. The green bar represents 180 days, which is the minimum the State Board of Education recommends if you want to get the highest rating on their financial profile score. So I include both lines in that on this graph, and you can see that the district, since 2021, has been above both of those lines, and fund balances have grown despite the fact that you've been starting to invest some money in capital projects. So financial forecast. So before getting into specifics of your district, these are some of the things that I'm seeing statewide. Why I believe over the next several years, schools are going to be much more challenged than they were over the last 5 years. First of all, real estate taxes, which in tax-capped counties can grow at the rate of inflation. In 2020, when your board approved the tax levies in 22 and 23, you were able to increase your tax levy by 5%. Well, 2022 was referendum one. And then 24 was 3.4%. And now when your board approves your levy in December 25, the max you could increase is 2.9%. So it's trending down. The historical average is about 2.4%. So it's very likely that your CPI growth for everybody, which impacts real estate tax growth, is going to increase half of what it did over the past 5 years. As I mentioned before, ESSER funds, schools received ESSER dollars. Those funds had to all be spent by the early part of this fiscal year. So those funds no longer exist. But more importantly, the state of Illinois, and I talk about this briefly at the end, but the state of Illinois, just prior to COVID, was in substantial financial difficulty. They owed about $6 billion in outstanding bills. They were paying a couple $100 million a year in penalties. The hospitals weren't being funded. The universities weren't being funded. And I actually received a call from the state right before COVID, obviously no one knew it was coming, asking about what would happen if we cut funding to education by 32%. So, which would have been like $1,100 per kid throughout the state. And it was that dire. But then COVID hit, and the state of Illinois received, I believe, around $8 billion. They got to pay off their bills. They got to continue to increase funding to education. So again, part of the reason why the last 5 years have been good, but now those funds have dried up for them as well. Interest earnings, federal interest rates are already starting to decline, and it's expected, although probably slower than people thought a year ago, but interest rates are starting to go down, so that revenue source should go down for all school districts. The strained relationship between the state and federal government, which is highly publicized, it's causing a lot of uncertainty in terms of federal grants funding to Illinois school districts, so that's something to keep an eye on. And then on the expenditure side, expenses tied to labor-intensive areas of the budget, like the collective bargaining agreements, special education, those are costs that have really increased over the last couple of years. There's a huge labor crisis in Illinois public schools. There's a labor crisis everywhere. You go to restaurants, everywhere you go, you see it. But it's more pronounced in Illinois education. The number of teachers entering the profession in the universities is down 60%. I think you should sign up. That one lady who's signed up, one student that signed up to be education, I get her signed right now. And schools, for the first time in my career, are poaching other people. So schools have had to become competitive at the teacher level, at the administrative level, at all levels. That drives up the cost. So what I anticipate going forward is expenses going up at historically high rates at a time when revenue growth is going to slow significantly. So districts like yours that have not put yourself in a strong financial spot, I work with several of them, are projecting to have some substantial challenges going forward. But the picture looks a little better, as you will see in a second for your district. So roughly 73% of your money comes from real estate taxes. And the rest comes from federal, state sources, other local sources. So looking at those for a second, the federal sources, 4%, that's not significant. That's likely not going to go up much. Your evidence-based funding, once you passed your referendum, your district clicked into tier 2 of the funding formula. So instead of getting $1 million plus per year, you're getting $100,000 plus per year. So that's a source that's not going to grow much. As I mentioned again, interest earnings are likely going down. So that part of the pie is likely going to grow at 0. There's going to be very little growth. So you need to look at your revenues in that your district's revenues will grow at about 73% of CPI. Yes?
I hate to be a pessimist, but the state of Illinois, Pritzker and Trump are at each other's throats, and I think the federal money is going to die up to Illinois, plus the 4% of our federal sources. Shouldn't we be pretty much planning on losing that 9% or not?
I'm not there yet, and most of the law firms, a lot of the Illinois law firms are kind of on top of it. I think that there may be some delays. I think, the indications, we don't know how it's going to play out. Obviously, it's speculation. But the indications right now are that the grants such as Title I, IDA are safe. And most of the grants that they're talking about are more at the college level. Now, how it's going to play out with Pritzker not, following what the Washington wants, and whether that's going to cause some sort of delay, I don't know. At this moment in time, I think the funds are safe. But next year, when we're here, it might be a different story.
Where's your optimism?
I'm not. Yeah, I mean that's where I stand right now. I just think I always try to. I stay out of politics. I gave up social media for Lent about 4 years ago, and I haven't gone on since. And I've never been happier.
Good plan.
But I do follow. I do kind of follow as it impacts schools, and it just seems to me like it would be political suicide to pull Title I money and special ed money. But we'll see. So the major projection revenues, as I mentioned before, the CPI, we know what it's going to be for this December 25 levy. We're projecting 2.4 annually thereafter. Interest earnings, we're projecting to start to decrease slightly. Your evidence-based funding, we're projecting is going to grow about $100,000 a year annually. The district received its final ESSER payment, that's that COVID money, of around $525,000 in 2025. So that's going to make 25 look better, but that's going to go away in 26. State revenues are going to decrease $1 million this year. We already know, because the state has released how much they're giving in primarily special education, special ed reimbursements and special ed transportation. Your district, the amount of claimable funds has gone down. I don't know why, but those revenues are going to be down about $1 million. And then we're projecting they're going to hold flat thereafter. The state has already indicated as an indication to me that they're starting to recognize they're going to have financial challenges, that they're promoting increasing evidence-based funding, but being flat on categorical projects like special ed. And then state and federal, as I mentioned, state and federal grants flat after 2026. So if you put those projections in a blender, we have revenues growing at an average rate of 1.2%. Next slide, please. On the expenditure side, 62% approximately of your expenses are salaries and benefits. As with all school districts, 60 to 70%, 60 to 67% is a normal percentage, and depends what you have outsourced and not outsourced. But this is a pretty typical distribution of expenditures for the district. Next slide, please, or for all school districts. On the expenditure side, salary expenses are projected to increase on average 3.7% annually during the projection period, and this is based on the current labor agreements, projected raises, and savings from retirements. So it's all in a blender. So the savings from retirements offset some of the raises. FTE in these projections are projected to be flat. So if the district increased staff size, it would be worse. If the district decreased staff size, it would be better. Employee benefits are projected to increase 6% annually, primarily due to projected increases of 8 to 10% for employee health insurance. That's about where schools are being told health insurance is going to grow over the next few years. Out of district tuition, we're projecting to increase $200,000 annually. The district will invest $44.6 million in major capital projects during the projection period. This includes an $18 million locker room addition, roofing projects, and HVAC projects. And Chris helped me develop these projections, or the assumptions. The district will spend on average $3 million on bus leases, technology, and other equipment purchases, and minor building maintenance projects, things outside of these major projects that were addressed earlier. And then all other expenses are projected to increase 3 to 5% annually. So if you put those projections, assumptions in a blender, we're showing expenditures are projected to grow at a rate of about 3.6%. Next slide, please. So if that happens, despite the investment in capital, which is much more significant than it's been historically, at this moment in time, we're still projecting fund balances to increase, meaning that we're anticipating that your surpluses will be greater than your investment in capital, which will allow you to do that without threatening your fund balance reserves. So, and this just graphically shows what we're seeing. So the gray circles are what happened in the past. The green is what we're anticipating. So we're anticipating surpluses to stay healthy, again, at this moment in time throughout the projection period. And then just showing the comparison of the two, the aggregate amount of revenues over expenditures is a little over $67 million, and capital expenditures are $44 million, and that's why expenses are going to increase about $23 million. Excuse me, fund balances will increase about $23 million, leaving the district with about 352 days of cash on hand. Next slide, please. Now, another thing that's really important, I believe, in terms of best practices when a school district does projections is some districts do absolute worst case scenarios, which I think don't have a lot of value because, I mean, it has some value to say, well, if the worst thing happens, then we're still going to have money. What I showed you just now was what I believe is, and Chris believes, is about a 50% probability to be better, 50% probability to be worse. So there's no bias in those numbers. What I'm going to show in a second is that there's a realistic worst case scenario, and there's a realistic best case scenario. Now, on the extremes, there's really worst case scenarios, which are like pension shifts and things like that. That's not on the radar right now. That may be down the road, but right now it's on the radar. So the assumption changes that we made for the two realistic scenarios. Next slide, please. On the realistic worst case scenario, we're projecting what would happen if the CPI dropped 1.4%. That's what inflation was before COVID. There was 0.7, 0.8, 1.4, 1.7. Inflation was a lot lower. So what would happen if that happens beginning in the 2026 levy year? Evidence-based funding being flat, which could happen. I put that in a realistic worst-case scenario. Out-of-district tuition will continue to grow at a higher rate beginning in 2026, and expenditure growth will exceed projected expenditure growth levels by 1%. So those are the realistic worst-case scenario assumptions. And then on the best-case scenario is that the consumer price index tied to tax extension growth will remain high at 3% due to inflationary pressures within the economy that may surface primarily, perhaps because of the tariffs. Out-of-district tuition expense growth will be flat under the best-case scenario that you're going to be able to maintain out-of-district tuition costs. And then non-salary expenditure growth will be below projected levels by about 1%. So this is what would happen to fund balances. So the white bar represents the projections that you saw, and you could see that you could see that under the realistic worst case scenario, we're still going to be above 180 days of reserves, but about $20 million less in the bank. And then the blue bars represent the best case scenario. So this kind of, under all realistic scenarios right now, the district looks strong. And then if you go to the next slide, please. This is probably a more relevant slide to that. So you can see the black line represents where we're projecting right now the deficits. And under the scenario where CPI, the primary one would be if CPI drops to 1.4%, you could see that your surpluses will decrease significantly during the projection period. However, you'd still have a surplus in 2030, yes.
Where on this graph or the previous graph would the unrealistic worst case, we lose all 9%, where would that be?
The unrealistic worst case? Yeah. So
it hits the fan.
I'll tell you what I believe is the unrealistic. By unrealistic, I think that there's not a high probability of it at this point in time, but I think it's a great question because it doesn't discount the possibility. So I go back to the world that was right before COVID in terms of Illinois school financing. Right before COVID, for those who are around, the state of Illinois was prorating grant money. The foundation level, which was the way schools were funded before the new evidence-based funding formula, was flat for for 7 years straight. Inflation was low. All this stuff happened, and legislatively, that's where all the conversations were really bubbling up about a pension shift. Conversations were bubbling up about consolidations of schools. All these things. We haven't heard anything about that in the last 5 years because schools are, quite honestly, schools right now at this moment in time, if you take a snapshot, many schools are flush with money. But I think that it's good that they are. But the scenario would be, so the governor's office is projecting a state, so before COVID, the state of Illinois, I believe, had 20 plus years straight of deficits. And now that the COVID money has dried up, the governor's office is projecting a deficit of about $5 billion, I think in 2029 or 2030. So the biggest risk, I think, to your school district would be that if there's that deficit and if the policy doesn't continue to be to kick the can down the road by not paying bills and doing what you can, because no one wants to cut funding to education if there's a way around it. So I get it. But the worst case scenario would be how a financial crisis in the state would flow through to school districts, because if it works the way it was being at a very low level being discussed before, they would start taking money away from school districts. But all I could say as a positive to your school district is many school districts would go under before your district would go under. Your district is in very good shape. So I don't, it's a great question. And I think that's why it's really good that we revisit this every year because next year a pension shift I'm not saying it will, but maybe that creeps into the realistic worst case scenario. Because I'm not even confident that, the governor's already proposed increasing evidence-based funding by $350 million. That doesn't mean, this is an important point for this district. I work with a lot of districts that are tier 1 districts, but now that you're a tier 2 school district, if as you listen to the state of Illinois, if they say, we don't have the money to increase evidence-based funding, we're gonna freeze it. So in other words, we're not gonna add $350 million, which they did the 1 year, which is the year that I was contacted on, that they got a loan from the federal government and they kept evidence-based funding flat. So if they say we got to keep evidence-based funding flat, that only costs your district $100,000 now. Before it cost $1 million plus. So some of the districts I work with, particularly in South Cook County, they may lose $1.5 million, $2 million because they rely on that growth every year. So that's not a killer for you. The killer would be if they cut funding to education. Because if they cut funding to education, more than likely they're going to go tier 4, tier 3, tier 2, before they go to tier 1. They're going to try to protect tier 1 as much as possible because, that's the highest percentage of low-income students. They get low real estate tax revenues, things of that sort. So a decrease in state funding is your biggest vulnerability from my perspective.
And if that happens, we're going to see you in front of us, right?
You can see me, yeah.
Yeah.
I might be wearing like some sort of bulletproof vest or something, but yes, yeah, that's right. But again, the districts, this is another important point. The districts I'm working with now that have like 4 months worth of fund balance reserve and they're barely balanced budgets now or slight surpluses, those are districts that when you project out 5 years with 1.5% revenue growth, those are districts that are talking about where you guys were a long time. We need to go to referendum. I'm working with Evanston School District. We just cut over 100 teachers. So there's districts, the vulnerable districts look way different and the conversation's way different right now. Again, a couple years down the road, things may happen, but your district, because of the successful referendum, have put yourself in a position where at least for the time being, and I'm saying for at least for 5 years, you don't have to worry about making the tough decisions that could impact student learning like you had to make some tough decisions before the referendum.
It would be like going back to before the referendum.
Right, but again, that's not even on, I don't want to leave that I'm saying the message that I think that your district's in that situation. At this moment in time, your district is in solid financial condition.
I've heard from people saying, though, the best time to adjust things would be when you're like now. Like just, making slight adjustments changes the trajectory long term. So instead of like, as you approach it and get it closer toward, breaking even or whatever, I think if we stay mindful of that and keep that long-term outlook, and if we even see it starting to kind of crouch in, slight adjustments further out, I think are less impactful on teachers and kids. So I think if we just, the 7 of us, keep that in mind and not allow us to get into that crisis moment, it would be tough on the community, it'd be tough on us. So I appreciate the 5+ year look at this. I also appreciate an external look at this because it validates Chris and her team, Danny, and what he's doing. It's just so helpful. We just got to be careful at this point.
To your point, and that's a great statement. Two things to your point. Number one is every district should always make their decisions through the lens of return on investment, student learning. So you should always, and it seems like you should always make decisions under the lens of how does this impact student learning. So which means don't unnecessarily spend money. But on the positive side, your school district is in a position that if your academic people are saying, here's a way we could improve student learning or improve the probability of our kids succeeding in life, that you have the resources at this point in time to do that. In other words, some districts, the the gut reaction is no, why expand? Your district, again, I know you had to do a lot of decreases before the referendum, but I think that you're in a position, and your students are in a position, and your administrators are in a position that creative minds that could come up with ways to continue to improve opportunities for your schools, you have the resources to do that. We're still projecting multi-million-dollar surpluses in these projections. And again, the nice thing about doing this every year is that scenario could change. But at this moment in time, again, don't spend any money you don't need to, but also don't not spend money that you think could help the kids.
No, yeah, and we've been adding positions. So we've definitely been spending, but we've also recognized that if a position, a program, an addition isn't meeting our needs, or we don't have that return on investment, how differently could we spend that money too? So I think we're spending it, but we're spending it wisely as well. So great points on all that. And I think we all, I know I do, feel really good about looking at this.
And I just have a couple final slides. Observations and recommendations, some of it we just said. Since the successful passage of the referendum, the district has had healthy surpluses, growing fund balance reserves, primarily due to the expected decline in inflation, and then the loss of the ESSER dollars this year. We're projecting revenue growth to decline to it's going to increase, but down to a lower level, 1.2%. Expenditure growth, 3.7%. So we're projecting revenue growth to grow at 2.5% higher than, expenditure growth will go 2.5% higher than revenue growth, which means that your surpluses will start decreasing. Based on current projections, the district is projected to continue to grow fund balances despite investing $44.6 million in major capital projects. And then final slide, recommendations. Unless major events change, which we talked about, the district's financial projections, the district can continue to invest fund balances, reserves into facility needs and wants over the next several years. Based on current projections, the district is in a position where it can expand student learning opportunities if desired, but should continue to make all major expenditure, sounds familiar, all major expenditure decisions under the lens of return on investment. The number one threat to this district's financial condition is currently a possible financial crisis. And again, that's not on the radar at this point in time at the state of Illinois, and how the state would need to address funding to schools to mitigate the crisis. Although not imminent, it must be closely monitored. And the district should continue to make financial decisions, which from me looking at the numbers you have done prudently and within regularly updated financial projections to ensure long-term fiscal stability.
All good?
Any questions from the board?
We'd really like to hear from you.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
We'd really like to hear from you.
Especially when it's good news.
When it's good news,
Yeah.
Rob, first of all, I want to thank you, and I appreciate everything you did in this document. I know it took a lot of work. There's pages and pages of assumptions, especially in these uncertain times. So I appreciate what you did. But I want to go back a couple of years when we had the referendum. And we went out to the community, and it was the right thing to do, but it was very uncomfortable to ask our taxpayers to pay more in taxes. It was the right thing, but it was really uncomfortable. The number one question I got asked is, you say this money is going to last 10 years, make it last 15. If you say it's going to last 15, make it last 20. So now we look at our projections, and if someone would come to me and say, you told me that it was going to last 12 years, which is, I think, about on average what we said, are we still on track? My answer is going to be, I don't know, we don't track that far out. That's a really uncomfortable answer. So I know it's really, really, really difficult to project that far out, but somehow I think we owe it to our taxpayers to project that far out, because we said we were going to be guardians of their money for that long.
Well, it wouldn't be that difficult. We could project it. Obviously, the longer you project, the more uncertainty in the projections.
Absolutely, that 50% range is going to get wider and wider.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, and I would project, again, this is 5 years. Well, you passed the referendum in 2022. So we would really just be going out with an extra 4 years.
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. Probably, again, if everything held true as it is right now, probably what we'd be looking at that point in time is close to balanced budgets, maybe starting to deficit spend.
Yep.
But still having healthy fund balance reserves. So unless everything that's in your control, I'm confident that you're going to go well beyond 12 years.
Right.
But if there's something that you can't control, which is the things we talked about, then that's obviously a different scenario.
Absolutely. And the same thing is if after 12, 13 years, what it is, if it starts to decline a little bit, I think we'd want to know that 5 years in advance so we can start making changes then, not like last time when we had to make changes very quickly and we didn't have proper time to respond.
Huge. Yeah,
So
that's right.
that's my one request. Work with whoever's, can get the information, but I would really love to see a much longer forecast. I think we owe it to our taxpayers to say, this is where we're going to be at in 10, 15 years.
Yep, that's a great point.
Thank you.
Can I piggyback off of that and just clarify something for myself? So when you show the projection zone, the way I'm interpreting everything that you've said is that those black dots, if that's the kind of the middle of the road, the current projection, those are decreasing. And eventually, if they continue that route, what you're saying is we've got some time, but eventually we won't have a balanced budget. At that point, we'll have a healthy fund balance that we can start dipping into. But currently, we are projecting to increase expenses faster than revenue will increase.
Right. Okay. So if you just eyeballed that slope, it's a negative slope, how far would you have to go out before it gets below zero? But projecting 5 years out with 1.4% revenue growth, that you're still going to have, about a $10 million surplus revenues over expenditures at this moment in time is a nice thing to know. But ultimately a downward slope goes below zero. So to your point, Paul, to make if I was showing you this graph, and most of the school districts I work with, the red line gets below zero, then you start to heighten a little bit some of your decisions.
Right.
Because like you said, you don't want to get yourself in a situation where you have to make really quick decisions, because that's not good for that's not good for anybody. But knowing in advance so you could start trending down there or doing what you have to do. But we'll see what happens. But right now you look good.
If we go with the current, we're still looking at our 15-year. If you look at the trajectory, we're looking pretty solid.
Yeah.
I'm not a financial whiz. You can remark on my remarks, but I'm just seeing, like, if you follow that trail, we're still, with the referendum, we're in pretty good shape. So
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And if Danny, if you could go to the fund balance slide, the previous slide.
Right.
Again, we're looking right now with having $90 million in the bank in 2030, with the investment in capital, and so obviously deficits start wheel that way, but again, I feel very comfortable, and I'm not, I don't like to go on limbs a lot, but I feel very comfortable that the 12-year scenario, more than, I mean, I wouldn't even say 12 years because it makes it sound like we need to go for referendum. Like 12 years shouldn't be a problem. Let's put it that way.
And don't get me wrong, I see that too.
No, I understand. No, I understand.
And I see it lasting maybe twice that. But until people see it on paper, then it's just
he says on his
idea.
last day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it goes bad, it's because you left.
It's not the last time I've made this request, or the first time I've made this request.
Wow.
I think it's been pretty consistent.
Okay.
That's it. Anything else?
You're done, Paul.
I think that's it.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, Danny is going to talk about our student services staffing model.
Yeah, I do plan on, and I just real quick want to reference, I forgot to introduce Marcus, I'm realizing. Marcus, can you wave to the school board? Marcus is our student representative today. Marcus, can you just give us a quick introduction of yourself, what grade you're in, any activities you're involved in?
Hi, I'm Marcus. I'm in 9th grade. I do cross country and track, and yeah.
Cool. Thanks for joining us today.
Perfect.
And band.
Hello.
Marcus, if you have any thoughts on items as they start talking about items, you'll just have to interject yourself. You don't raise your hand, you just start talking. Sound good?
That's good.
We've been talking about student services staffing model for probably 4 to 5 months. We've done a handful of visits around looping. I am planning on coming back to the board with some formal recommendations, probably at the first meeting in May, but wanted to give the school board any time if they wish to just make sure I understand what it is that you're looking for in May, if there are specific questions you'd like to have answered or topics that have come up in the recent past that you'd like to make sure I address in my report in May.
I think I just wanted to kind of reiterate what's been said in the past. I know it's been a goal to look at how we can do things differently, focus on relationships. We have these 2 large campuses, and ultimately getting to something like this looping model or student services staffing model, whatever you want to call it. I do appreciate the look and even our staff's look with site visits and discussions. And I know it's a task to look at things very, very differently, but appreciate it ultimately culminating with maybe a more focused look at the student services looping model. So just a thank you to everybody that's been involved in it.
I think that, I hope we're gonna look into a lot of things that are gonna be challenges for that, which like, start times and things that could create, issues for students, staff, whoever. So I think that, I know there's gonna be challenges, and I'm sure there's other ones that I haven't thought of, but I'd like to make sure that we get some feedback on, what you found and potential solutions, or at least things that would help a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Could you give us next month, maybe, like if we were to do this, what would a timeline be about how we would implement?
That's helpful. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, it's all been very interesting, there's no doubt, so.
Great. I'll plan on coming back with a proposal probably for the committee of the whole meeting that'll allow for some discussion with the board. Is it okay if I move on to the next item?
Absolutely.
Probably just a similar type of discussion item because we recently had some staff members in. I just wanted to give the board an opportunity to have any discussion that they wanted to have after the presentation that they give. If there are any questions that we can work on answering for you, happy to look into that if you want to help me understand questions you might still have.
There was discussion about students, I don't know if it was saying that they didn't need the class or literally dropping the class. I don't know if it was an action or if it was a threat or whatever was being made in the classroom. Do we have information, data on those that do drop out, when they drop out, where they drop out? It might be just helpful to have that kind of data discussed because it would be a little bit more clear as to where we might need to focus attention or what the actual data problem looks like, so.
Things that I've, been thinking about as far as this whole graduation requirement thing, stands is I was not really for raising the graduation rates when we first started this, but I'm slowly kind of thinking maybe, yeah, we need to do something, because what I don't get is when students don't have class, like let's say they only have 4 classes their senior year, do they have to leave?
Yes.
They leave? Do we have somebody that says, get out of here? I'm just asking, because I hear things from people that say, well, the kids are just wandering around the school. They don't have class and they're not doing anything. They're just out wandering around. I think some of that is exaggerated, at least I hope it is. But I think I want to know if it helps the atmosphere at the school, that more of the students are in class and not being semi-disruptive in whatever way, then and they know that it's required, then I think that's something that would positively impact the education for everybody. Not just the students who are actually going to class now instead of leaving or doing whatever. I don't know. It just seems to bother me that people are just wandering around, if they are.
Maybe we could
Because
get data
that's
on that.
disruptive.
I have to ask you a question that really dates me. Is there such a thing as study hall anymore?
Yeah, we do have study halls.
Mandatory? They have to be in study hall or not? Is that a come and go thing?
Yeah, not every student is in a study hall, so not every student is
Don't have classes,
required.
Steve. They just sign up for 4 classes. They got 3 periods a day. They got nothing.
So, okay, in my day, you did that and you had 2 study halls. You had to stay there. I'm just asking, is that?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
In my opinion, it'd be better for them to be able to choose an elective and you know, get another credit. Yeah. I am in favor for raising the credits. I do believe that we can come to a medium number, right? Not too high, not too low, but we should increase. I also believe that we can do it properly with a good plan. We have enough time. I also believe that if we were to move forward with this, it would start with the freshman class. So whether it's this fall or the following year, but as long as administration can come to us with a plan and something that we can review and, you know, make sure that it's, yeah, I'm in favor for it. I also, and something that John said that, you know, kind of rubs him the wrong way, something that kind of rubbed me the wrong way the last time we met was hearing that students are being disrespectful of our teachers by saying, well, I don't have to be here, I don't have to do this, I don't want that example to be part of our school. And students shouldn't feel like they can disrespect our staff or our teachers because they don't have to take a class or they don't have to, you know, do X, Y, and Z. I don't like the feeling of setting that example of disrespect.
Could I ask our young guest if you have an opinion on any of this?
If you don't, you don't have to be on the spot.
He's a freshman.
So you know.
You can just say no.
Yeah.
Well, I know our credit hours have dropped like 4 from like when COVID, like before COVID and now. Like it was like at 22 and now it's at what, 18? And that is a big jump. And I think we could find a middle area, and it's not a bad thing to find a middle area because then students are just getting more education. And then that would also solve the issue of seniors just walking around after they finish their first 3 classes.
See that?
I'm not at this campus.
Oh, that's
I don't
true.
know.
I forget you're that young.
The answer is no.
Ask your sister, let us know.
I mean, I guess I'm asking, Danny, are you hearing concerns about students roaming the halls, not supposed to be here, or is that an issue?
My impression is that the issues around attendance are probably closer related to tardies, so students just being late to class. I don't have the impression, although I'd be happy to walk calls with any board members that would like, I don't have the impression that during class there are a substantial number of students walking the hallways that don't need to be in class. That the large majority of students, if they're not assigned to a class, are just leaving campus during that time when they don't have a class. I definitely can get you the data on how many students have a release period at the beginning or end of the day, and if that's butted up to a study hall. You do have some language in the new handbook that should decrease that.
About to ask, can you remind us what that language is?
Yeah, so the new language in the handbook for next year just states that students will be scheduled at the beginning of the year into basically 6 courses.
They're not going to have an opportunity to have 4 empty slots.
Yeah, I think what we're all recalling that the teachers were telling us is that they're enrolled in 6 classes, but if a student doesn't want to participate and they don't need it to graduate, sometimes they say, I don't need this to graduate. And I'm with all of you. Like I don't want kids to be responding to their teachers or to the curriculum that way. But I also know that when I first joined the board, I think is when we started talking about this a year or two ago, that we talked about wanting to take the space that we have right now as an opportunity to talk about not only rigor, but support and innovation, and how can we incorporate that in the schedule. So as we, that's what I'm looking for as we consider moving the graduation requirements back up, is what could we do differently that would
And that goes back
support
to me saying if
student
we have a
learning.
plan, right? If their administration comes to us with a plan that we find that it's balanced within students who are at higher risk, and then the bigger percentage of students who are on track.
Well, and I second what Susan's saying. Nobody should be disrespectful. I think kids probably are disrespectful in a lot of realms, right? Cell phones for one, like being tardy for another. This might be another. I mean, we could always ask the students who are dropping classes or failing to see what they think. I mean, that's a stakeholder we're not talking about talking to, right? So maybe that wouldn't be a bad idea if Danny were to reach out to students and figure out what their struggles are. But, reducing the number of opportunities in someone's, if we're talking about the same people that are saying, well, I'm either failing out or I don't want to take things, and some of the reasons might be they're not engaged in the school atmosphere. So what Susan was talking about regarding supports, I mean, this is an opportunity to fill those gaps for the kids that may not be filling them themselves with some of those supports, and reimagining those times instead of doing what we've always done, putting them into a different type of a classroom setting or a different type of a, I'll just say setting, whatever, so that they are getting the supports they need in the other categories. So, I mean, I don't know if we could talk to some of the students and see what's going on with them as well. I mean, they need to be heard as much as everybody, I think, so.
In reference to that, and it's really been bothering me since the first time I heard it. I know it bothers everybody on this board to comment about I would need this class to graduate and they walk out or whatever. I'd be very interested, I don't know if the teachers report that or what, but I'd be very interested, is that 2 people or 7 or 43 or 300? I mean, if it happens occasionally, it's too much, but if it happens very, very often, it's something we need to really hit, it seems to me. And maybe we should ask the teachers, just let you know. It doesn't even have to be official, but if you can come in front of us and say it happened 4 times, that's one thing. You come in front of us and say it's systemic, that's something else.
Okay.
I think part of the things about like seniors like walking around after like classes, if they like finish early, and then like not every like senior or junior has like a car, has a way to transport themselves home. And that doesn't mean that they want to sit in a study hall either. So if you could like give them a better space to be, even though like, sure there's a study hall, but no, like study hall can be boring. Like they don't want to just sit there in the lunchroom. So if you could give them a better space to be, then they won't be roaming the halls if they don't have a way to transport themselves home.
It's a great comment.
Especially if they have something after school they're waiting for, right? Yeah, I see your point.
Okay. Feedback.
Anything else? If not, let's move on to the action items. The first action item is the approval of the class of 2025 early graduation. This is a process we go through every year for people who graduate early. Are there any questions on this? If not, I move to approve the 7 junior students to graduate in May 25 as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz, second by Anderson. Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson is not present. Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Mr. DeMonte?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
I have 6 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Next up is a motion to approve to expend funds for the 25-26 school year, up to 25% of the tentative budget. We do this every year. The budget's not finalized, but we still need to give the school permission to spend money. Any questions on this? If not, I move to approve expending no more than 25% of the tentative budgeted expenditures for the 25-26 school year as necessary to operate the district before a final budget is approved.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz, second by Martinez. Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. DeMonte?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson is not present. Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
6 yes, motion carries.
Thanks. Next up is an approval to, for the changes to the student parent handbook. Do we want to review what the changes were, or there's just really one that we were talking about last time?
Yeah, we made a couple updates on our end for our needs, but specifically as brought up last time, we do have language around a notarized letter of residence when they are when they're living with another district resident.
Questions, comments? If not, I move to approve the changes for the 25-26 student parent handbook.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz, second by Anderson. Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. DeMonte?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
I have 7 yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Next up is an action for the summer workers, something we go through every year. Any questions or conversation?
Yeah, administration would like to modify our proposal. I don't know if Ms. Squires had brought something to my attention, but you can go ahead and mention your concern. Yeah.
So we're looking at pay rates for summer workers of 2 different kinds. One is student workers who do educational technology, and one is, I guess, graduates. They have to be adults, they have to be over 18, who do maintenance. And it looks like the wages were developed separately, but now that we're approving them together, it became apparent that the maintenance workers are coming in at $20 an hour, and the ed tech workers are coming at close to $21 an hour, and that seemed inequitable for positions that seemed more comparable.
I agree. So we're gonna modify our proposal so that the, sure I'm saying this right, the summer worker employment starting rate is raised to $21.73 to match that highest Chromebook tech clerk. That's about, back of the napkin math, is about an extra $500 per employee. It'd be an extra $5,000 cost for the summer workers. So I would modify our proposal to include those changes.
Okay with that?
Yep.
If so, I move to approve the 25 summer workers for the maintenance and education technology departments as amended as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz, second by Pope. Mr. DeMonte?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Abstain.
Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
I have 6 yes and 1 abstention. Motion carries.
Next up, we have some new Appendix B positions.
I'm really excited about these positions. They are coaches for girls flag football, esports, and a girls wrestling program. These are new and emerging opportunities for our students. Great way to engage students differently in our school.
Questions?
They moved their assistant coaches from unused stipends too, I noticed in the letter. So you're only, that's why you don't have to have assistant coaches approved, because they just moved them around.
Nothing else. I move to approve the addition of 3 Appendix B positions: 1 head girls flag football coach, level 1, 1 head esports coach, level 1, and 1 head girls wrestling coach, level 1.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz and second by Martinez. Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. DeMonte?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have some changes to the master agreement with DLA Architects.
Yeah, so because our master agreement with DLA hadn't been updated in a number of years with the big projects coming up, we thought it was a good idea to re-engage with both sides, legal counsel, to update that agreement. So there's a handful of changes in there that, to be honest, I think mostly the attorneys were wanted to make sure we clarified. And then because of changes to the master agreement, there's some updated information included on the agreement for the locker room. The master agreement has new requests for those types of agreements for inclusion, and so we had to append those to include those new requirements.
Questions from what was submitted? If not, I move to approve the updated AIA B101 master agreement with DLA Architects Limited as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz, second by Martinez. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Demonte?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Thanks, everyone. Next up, we have some changes to the agreement with regards to the locker room addition and renovations. Any questions on this? If not, I move to approve the updated engagement agreement with DLA Architects Limited for the locker room addition and renovations at the Eau Plaine campus.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz and second by Carlson. Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Demonte?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Next up, we have the new medical, dental, and vision insurance rates. Any questions on these? Anything you want to add, Danny?
I think they didn't increase this year by as much as they have in past years, but it's still a pretty significant increase and something to continue to pay attention to. We did this year go out and try to get information from other carriers and didn't have very good luck with this upcoming year in decreasing any costs with that route, but we'll continue to look at that each year.
Questions? If not, I move to approve the medical, dental, vision, and life insurance premiums with Educational Benefit Cooperative for the 25-26 school year as presented.
Second.
Roll call.
Motion by Schultz, second by Martinez. Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Mr. Demonte?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Thanks, everyone. Next up, we have the results of the April 1st election.
I fixed the date in there, I apologize. I just wanted to make sure you had the right date of the election.
What's the date? Was it not April 1st?
It was, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
2025.
Got it. Got it.
You know,
Wrong year.
What's a year?
give or take.
Okay.
Nonetheless, we have the results. Does anybody know what the results were? I forgot.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Very quickly.
Want to announce them?
So the results of the election were John Anderson, Tasia Fields, Natalia Martinez, and Susan Squires.
You can do the oath of office right now?
Yes, you are.
Let's go.
So why don't you all stand up near the podium? Deja, if you could join them. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's that?
Oh, yeah.
Not
Look at all those politicians.
At least you don't have to read it with Steve. Oh my god.
Does everybody have a copy? Or did you memorize it ahead of time?
Brought my glasses, so.
Okay. Apologize, this will take a while. So I,
John Anderson,
Natalia Martinez.
Susan Squires.
Tasia.
do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the School Board of Education of Warren Township High School District 121 in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability. Yes, you do.
I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the member of the Board of Education of Warren Township High School District 121 in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois to the best of my ability.
Further swear that
I further swear that
I shall respect taxpayers' interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets.
shall respect taxpayers' interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district's assets.
I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board while representing the privacy of students and employees.
I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinion by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board while respecting the privacy of students and employees.
I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by majority of vote at a public board meeting.
I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by a majority vote at a public board meeting.
I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
I shall abide by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels.
As part of the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district.
As part of the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district.
I shall foster with the board extensive participation in the community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for Warren Township High School District 121.
I shall foster with the board extensive participation of the community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for Warren Township High School District 121.
I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework.
I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework.
I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement in all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law.
I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement in all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law.
I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students and our community school to advance the vision for Warren Township High School District 121.
I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students in our community school to advance the vision for Warren Township High School District 121.
And I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development.
Strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
many years?
After 20 years.
Haven't you done this 10 times?
No. Okay, so now you're going to do 12B. You're going to move.
Okay, now we need to appoint a president
I'd
pro
like
tem.
to make a motion to.
We're back on.
I'd like to make a motion to have John Anderson become president pro tem.
Second, sorry.
Roll call. Do we just appoint or do we have to roll call?
I'll be with you.
You need to
Just
roll call.
Hold on a second here.
Come on, Gene.
We're not in a big hurry.
So President Pro Tem was
John Anderson.
John Anderson.
Mhm. You have a second by Beth Pope?
Motion by Carlson, second by Pope. Mr. DeMonte?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Dr. Fields? Yes. Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
We have 7 yes. Motion carries.
And I move to appoint Natalia Martinez as secretary pro tem.
Second.
Only lasts 5 minutes, so. Roll call.
Motion by Anderson, second by Pope. Mr. DeMonte?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Dr. Fields? Yes. Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
I have 7 yes. Motion carries.
Okay, now we're calling the meeting to order again. And now that we're not in whatever that other thing was, Sunny Day, we'll call to order. The meeting is now in session, and we'll have a roll call, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Carlson?
Here.
Mr. DeMonte?
Here.
Dr. Fields? Here. Mrs. Martinez? Here. Mrs. Pope?
Here.
And Mrs. Squires?
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay. Now, this reorganizational meeting, the first new business is the election of president, so we need nominations for the office of president.
I nominate Tony.
Second.
Tony DeMonte.
Tony DeMonte.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? No other nominations. Nominations are closed. I guess we still need to vote?
Yes.
All right, now we'll vote on president.
Motion by Anderson, second by Pope for Mr. DeMonte as
Ms.
president.
Martinez made the motion, the first motion, to nominate him. Oh, now we're gonna vote? Do we have to make a different motion to vote, or just the nomination was enough? I'm just asking. I don't wanna I hate Robert's Rules of Orders. I just want everybody to know that right up front.
We're all good with you.
On the nomination.
Voting on the nomination that was made.
Okay,
Correct.
then we've already done it. Then there was Martinez and Pope.
Okay. Motion by Martinez, second by Pope. Correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Correct.
Is that the right answer?
Yes. So far, you're at
We're all too
1,000.
tired at this point to do this.
Here.
Yes, here, yeah, yes.
Mr. DeMonte?
Yes.
Nominate me for president.
Dr. Fields?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson?
Yes, of course.
Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
And Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
We have 7 yes. Motion carries.
All right, then now we are gonna open nominations for the office of vice president of the board.
I'll nominate Beth Pope.
Second. Are there any other nominations? Going once? Going twice?
Sold.
All right. Roll call then.
Motion by Carlson and second by Anderson for Beth Pope to be vice president. Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Mr. DeMonte?
Yes.
Dr. Fields? Yes. Mrs. Pope? Yes. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
And Mr. Carlson?
Okay.
Oh, boy. This one.
There we go. Oh.
We have 7 yes, motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is the nominations for the office of Secretary of the Board of Education. I nominate Natalia Martinez.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Nominations are closed. Roll call.
Motion by Anderson and second by Pope for Natalia Martinez to be secretary. Mr. DeMonte?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Dr. Fields?
Yes.
Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Okay. So has this officially become Tony's meeting now?
Go for it, buddy.
Yeah. The next item, I think, is informational, Danny, as far as announcement of dates, times, and place for regular meetings of the reorganized Board of Education. So I believe there's a link in there to an updated meeting calendar that was amended recently. Is there anything to add, Dr. Weisman?
Nope.
No? And any questions from the board? Okay. The next item we have is board committees and meeting dates. Looks to be a discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is just a quick reminder that we have talked a little bit about tweaking that committee of the whole meeting process coming up. The committee dates for the small committees that meet a couple times a year are included in the board agenda or the board calendar. And we do have 2 tentatively scheduled shared services committee dates for next year as well. However, with any type of reorganization, if you'd like to think about that differently, that's definitely a conversation that we could have, and you can talk to Tony about any possible changes you'd like in the committees of the board. That's it.
I think we're toward the end of our meeting, so I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Motion by DeMonte, excuse me, and second by Pope. Mrs. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Mrs. Squires?
Yes.
Dr. Fields?
Yes.
Mrs. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. DeMonte?
Yes.
I have 7 yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Okay.